Hey everyone! In this video, we're going to go into detail about how we design high-quality assessments for grades 6 through 8. We'll look at how to analyze assessments for potential barriers, and we're going to give some examples of assessments for you to think about. Now, in the intro video, Tracy gave us 3 big questions we can use to evaluate the quality of assessment. We want to ask ourselves, how is the assessment linked to learning? How does the assessment engage the learner? And what barriers might the students be experiencing? So let's keep those in mind as we look at some examples for this grade band.
Don't forget, we also have the playbook, which has additional resources.
Okay, so Bill and Allison, can you try to really set the stage for us? Help us understand what might be going through the minds of teachers as they're walking into the classroom this coming year.
You mean other than, oh my gosh, what the heck have I gotten myself into?
Yes, Bill. Other than that, could you try to help us understand the barriers and concerns that educators might be walking in with? Maybe put yourself in the teacher's mind and try to explain how you're feeling.
Sure, I can do that. So as an 8th grade teacher, I'm always thinking about the social dynamics between students. It's honestly part of the reason that they come to school, that they really haven't had that for 5+ months. They've been totally communicating and interacting through devices. What has this done to their romantic relationships? Which honestly, I was already really worried about.
Okay, got that. So Allison, what do you think?
If I imagine I'm a 6th grade science teacher, I'm someone who always looks forward to the start of the year. But this year, I'm worried that mental health issues are going to start showing, and it might be hard to tell how seriously to take these due to all the stress that parents and students have been in and are going to be under.
Wow. Now, these videos really can't handle all of those concerns, but we can focus on helping teachers get a clear understanding of where a student is at in their learning and give some assessment techniques we can put into practice immediately. I guess before we dig into what my grandparents used to call the nitty-gritty of this video, I just want to say this. Teachers, you got this. Recent events have substantially impacted everyone's feelings. We're all experiencing a whole host of emotions, but it's okay. This year, maybe more than ever, we need to just have each other's backs. When you see a fellow staff member or a student doing something that's hard for them, whether it has to do with COVID-19 or not, I challenge you to just let them know you noticed. Be proud. Be proud of your students, be proud of your profession, and be proud of yourself. Okay team, so what are your top 3 suggestions to help 6th through 8th grade teachers assess their students this year?
Okay, so for grades 6 to 8, we're looking to co-design assessments with learners, keep assessments relevant, and build technology skills to provide flexible options for assessment. I think this first one, co-design assessments, is really critical, especially for middle school.
I agree. Students at this age want more voice and control over their learning, and we can help them learn how to use it and use it well.
The goal of co-design is to design assessments with student input. We want to engage students in the assessment process because it gives us another way to help students develop the skill of self-assessment, and through co-design, we can help students see and articulate their own strategies for increasing success.
And the second bullet, keep assessments relevant, fits with the idea of increasing students' interest, having real-world applications, and embedding those in our assessments.
Absolutely, Allison. Can we design assessments that use students' experiences, like a loss of friendships due to the impact of COVID-19, things like that?
Okay, great insights. Now, the last point, build technology skills to provide flexible options for assessment. How should educators be using that recommendation?
I think that bullet really reminds educators to design assessments that use technology as a flexible tool while supporting students to learn to use the technology that they have at their fingertips. This supports learning whether we're in the classroom or remote.
Yes, can we design assessments that help familiarize students about how to work in groups and to use different technologies to collaborate? This works whether in person, remote, or hybrid. Maybe an assessment focuses on student collaboration on a writing assignment.
Okay team, so let's think about some assessment tips or strategies that we can share that will help middle school teachers in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classrooms to gather information about learning and assess where their students are at.
First, I want to highlight that middle school is a time to design assessments that increase autonomy for students and to make sure that our assessments provide space for students to decide what steps should be taken and where to go for support or help. This is a time when we want to start really empowering students to learn to think about owning their own learning.
One technique that I've seen work in math and other areas is to have students create their own test questions. The teacher asks the students to prepare questions that will be used on an upcoming test. The students should model the questions they create based on the problems that they've been working on in class or for homework. The students turn in the problem and a diagram showing how to solve the problem. Then the teacher assembles everyone's questions and creates a quiz or in-class game. So also, I once saw a teacher pass out these student self-report notes as they were giving students assignments to work on in class. After completing the assignment, the student checks off the box on the note that links to their own level of comprehension. They also had to explain their choice.
At the beginning of the year, educators should keep the assessment simple and short. The temptation might be to give students an assessment that measures all the skills they should know coming in their class. Instead, I challenge teachers to try to tease out the concepts for your subject area that students do recall and those they don't, by limiting the variables they examine per assessment. Remember, students are going to be totally distracted by the social aspects of returning to school, and they are going to be out of the habit of doing school and potentially anxious about new rules and learning environments. Our best bet is to keep assessments brief, specific, and informal, and keep the students in the loop. Let them know your goals and purpose.
Tracy, this is a great point. I imagine that English teachers could consider having students write about their feelings or reactions to the announcement that they were coming back to school, or about the new rules they have to follow. I mean, you could even segue this into a collaborative project where students use math, writing, or research to make presentations about the impact of COVID-19 on their education.
And all of that, the writing, the research, the collaboration, can all inform the design of our instruction. What are the social and emotional pieces of how well a student is functioning in a group? What role are they taking on? Are they becoming a leader?
I also encourage educators to have students practice working in groups online through Google Docs or another tool. We want to build structures and strategies that students can use in person, remotely, or in hybrid learning environments.
We also need to make sure all students have been exposed to support tools, like speech to text. I mean, if a student has never used the tool or had exposure to it, how do they know if it would be useful or not? Maybe educators could do a quick assessment of tool use, where they ask all students to use support features in Google Docs.
I also wanted to mention
To use support features.
intro video, which is the potential for sending a letter home and using that letter to start gathering information from parents about their children as learners. We put some ideas for the letter home for each grade band in the playbook, so be sure to check that out.
In speaking with teachers during and after remote learning situation, it was interesting to hear teachers report that some students in their classrooms did better remotely. For instance, one teacher told me that there was a kid who didn't succeed much in the class because he could not sit still. She was ever telling him to sit down or trying to give him useful jobs. But in remote learning, his table was in his bedroom, so he bounced on his bed as he worked, which the teacher said could be a little distracting, but enabled the student to engage in the class. This teacher is going to share this with the 8th grade teachers so that when the student goes into a new classroom, he can sit on a bouncy ball.
Also really important for teachers in middle school is to support executive functions, or students' goal setting, planning, and progress monitoring. I saw a teacher do this really well. He worked with students to create a list of all the scaffolds that were available for learning, like Quizlets, review sheets, class discussions, readings, videos, you get it. Anyway, after the assessment, the teacher asked students to reflect. How well did you do? Which of the scaffolds or learning strategies did you use? And what could you do next time? And then that teacher asks students to share their responses, because this showed that students who did really well actually used a lot of the resources.
I know a teacher who uses a really creative strategy for note-taking. When he knows the student should take notes, he specifically assigns the role of note-taker to 3 students. And afterwards, the teacher will make the notes available and pass them out to the class. And it shows how differently people take notes. It allows other students the option to relax and focus on listening because they know they're going to have those notes available.
So, since the notes are going to be shared, I would guess that the students take it really seriously.
Yes, but it's also amazing how differently kids take notes. Some draw, some write every word, some use different colored pens, and through the process, the teacher can also assess where students are in their learning. They can also use it as a formative assessment to teach and improve students' note-taking skills.
Okay, so in this video, we've given you lots of tips to think about. We really want to stop now and just encourage you to choose one and really try it out in your classroom.
Great point, Bill. I'd encourage teachers to think about focusing on
Choose one and really
especially for the first 3 to 4 months of the school year.
Yes, and don't be afraid to carefully and deliberately evaluate the quality of the assessments you use. In fact, if you want some ideas for doing that, you can check out our Designing and Evaluating Assessments video.
I really think we should all commit to fully embracing that this next school year is the year of growth mindset. No one knows what it will be like. It's going to look different for everyone, and it's going to be constantly changing and adjusting. The thing that can keep us on track is a growth mindset, a fundamental belief that embraces the power of learning, the idea that education is critical, and as educators, we can support this for our learners.
If you have questions or you want more examples of assessments, check out the playbook we created for this series. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.